Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Water Margin Book Club, where we talk about
Water margin.
the water margin. We talk about the English version, the Chinese version,
The commentary version.
Imperial Chinese people's commentary on the Chinese version.
Yes.
Maybe the TV show eventually, TV shows, movies.
Yes.
Video games.
It's a water margins train.
Yeah. And we're on car number 7 of the water margin train.
Yes. Although maybe we say, this is Cherry.
Oh, I'm Natalie.
And this is part of the With Chinese Characteristics podcast.
They probably know that, but yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we have a listener. Okay.
So chapter 7, Cherry.
Chapter 7. Here's the title. Okay. The tattoo.
Cherry has the summary for this one because I was writing stuff for the Yellow River.
Yeah.
So you get a treat. You get...
Maybe this is a different style. I don't know. We'll see.
100% cherry.
Well, there's some stuff that's yours.
Oh, is it?
So, yeah. So the title is The Tattooed Monk Uproots a Willow Tree. Lin Chong enters White Tiger Inner Sanctum by mistake. Ooh.
My internal title for this chapter is Lin Chong's wife is too hot.
Yeah, exactly. That's it will make sense by the end of this episode. So, last chapter ended with Sagacious Lu arriving in the eastern capital city.
Mm-hmm. Kaifeng, the capital where the story starts.
The great Xiangguo Monastery. He is now the newly appointed keeper of the vegetable garden at the monastery.
Big position, opportunity for advancement.
Yes. If he can keep the garden well for a year, he can be raised to be the keeper of the pagoda. And after that, if he does well, another year, he could be appointed as the master of the bathhouse.
Well, he broke the pagoda at the old monastery, so maybe he wouldn't be a very good keeper.
Well, but there is an upward trajectory for career advancement, So, that's where we're now, at the vegetable garden, with the keeper of the vegetable garden, Sagacious Lu, the most unlikely vegetable garden keeper in the whole world.
There's ruffians there.
Sagacious Lu is the new tough dude in town.
He is.
But little did he know, the vegetable garden, before he arrived, was a gold mine for local rogues and gamblers. Mm-hmm. They steal and sell the vegetables from this garden for a living, which I was like, how big is this garden? This seems like it needs to supply.
No. They say garden, but they really mean like fields.
You're right.
It's a vegetable farm.
You're right. Okay. So they used to steal stuff from here.
Yeah.
But now, new tough dude in town, and they're like, ooh, maybe we need to show this new tough dude a lesson.
Yeah, it's like prison.
Yeah.
You beat up the toughest guy on your first day.
Exactly. So.
Or you have sex with them.
But the local ruffians didn't know what they were in for.
Yeah.
These 20 or 30 so-called local knives are led by 2 people. Mm-hmm. One is Rat crossing the street Zhang the Third and Snake in the grass Li the Fourth. And you know what? Just based on their nicknames, I don't think they're tough dudes.
No.
I don't think they're going to make the list.
They can make it to like tough dude groupie status.
Yes. Yeah. But they can cause some little troubles too. Yeah. So they work out this little scheme and they fake congratulate him. Mm-hmm. Sagacious Lu then invites them in to hang out, right? And then they drop to their knees to show respect. They're like, oh, wow, thank you so much. But really, they were hoping that because they dropped down to their knees, then Sagacious Lu would step in and be like, no, don't kneel. And he would approach and he'll help them up.
Yeah.
At which moment, that would be the opportunity for them to charge Sagacious Lu.
But boss push him into like the trash pit.
Yes, exactly. So this seems suspicious. I don't know how good of a plan this is. Sagacious Lu immediately.
He realizes.
Yeah.
They're trying to pluck.
Exactly.
The tiger's whiskers.
And this is not the first time the tiger's whiskers has came up in this book. And this is one of my favorite sayings. Because Sagacious Lu is comparing himself to a tiger.
Yeah. He's kind of tiger-like.
He is.
There'll be real tigers in this novel.
There will be. Tell you. Yes. So, Sagacious Lu walks closer and the thugs try to attack him. But of course, they fail miserably. I mean, was there any question that they would succeed at all?
No.
So he kicked the 2 leaders into the poop pit. Mm-hmm. The rest of the thugs, of course, now realize that Sagacious Lu is a tough dude. They don't dare to continue the assault. Sagacious Lu then tells the followers to help their leaders wash up in the vegetable garden.
Yeah.
And then he gives all of them a good talking down to, good lecture.
But they're all buds now.
The thugs now have experienced how powerful Sagacious Lu is. They thank him for his mercy, and they basically state that he is their new master now.
Yeah.
So Sagacious Lu gets his little local gang.
He's really enjoying this monastery a lot more.
He really is. From then, these local thugs, they wine and dine Sagacious Lu.
Which I don't know
they're buddies.
I don't know where they're getting all the money for all this.
Now that they can't steal money, vegetables from the garden. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't think there's not much writing about how Sagacious Lu is managing the garden or keeping an eye on the garden.
I think he's keeping a tight,
You think so?
close watch on the garden.
Okay. Well, quote unquote, wines flowed freely and the party grew lively. Mm-hmm. There was singing and talking and applause and laughter. So it was a good time. Mm-hmm. But one day there was this crow on a willow tree next to them that apparently was making a lot of chit-chattering.
Yeah.
And the local thugs...
Interrupting their feast.
And Sagacious Lu, he does not like interruptions.
No.
He showed up in our book when he was mad at...
Lady crying,
yeah. So, the thugs, though, come together and say a prayer. Red lips rise to the sky. White tongue enters the earth.
Which I asked you about.
Yes. I looked it up. So this was a form of praying an argument or a quarrel away.
Oh.
So the thing about crows, Natalie.
What is the thing about crows, Cherry?
Crows are not necessarily always bad luck in ancient China, even though in this case, the chatty crow was seen as bad luck. And the sound that a crow makes is kind of not very pleasant. Exactly. So it could be seen as bad news or an argument.
It's not like...
is about to
It's
happen.
not like melodious.
No. It's not singing.
No.
Right? But other times, a crow's noise can be seen as lucky as well. China has had a long history, Natalie. Different people have different opinions about this.
You know what I think what turns out? Mm-hmm. If a crow makes a noise and then a good thing or a bad thing happens, then you go back
it was
and
lucky.
you go, yeah, we should have known the crow called, so,
Exactly.
we had rain.
That's what happened. And, one interesting thing, though, is that apparently because crows sometimes live in a cooperative breeding style, some young crows help their parents care for their younger siblings before breeding themselves. And this is apparently rare amongst birds. It doesn't happen all the time. So, in some ancient Chinese texts, you can find that this is seen as a representation of filial duty.
It's Confucian crows.
Exactly. So in this case, the crows are an example to follow.
Not in this case, though, with Sagacious Lu, though.
No. Well, I do want to say, I've made a decision that spending time on bird-related metaphors in this book...
Pays off?
Yeah, I'm going to always do it. If there's a thing about bird that requires time to look into, I'm going to look into. I'm going to spend our precious research time on bird metaphors, okay? Be it what do you call the first one? The
Mandarin Drake and
the
duck
Mandarin
twist.
Drake and duck twist, or this. So I'm very happy that I looked this particular one up. Crows, Confucius birds. So, the crows have a nest. Back to the story. The crows have a nest in the willow tree besides the wall. So the thugs discuss that they should get a ladder or someone should climb up the tree to destroy the nest.
No.
But, quote unquote, feeling his wine.
They should have known.
They should have known.
They have human tornado, human force of nature.
Sagacious Lu here,
Yeah.
I know, right? But they said feeling his wine. I was thinking, when was he not feeling his wine? Ever, When he's mad that he doesn't have wine, he also causes trouble.
Yeah.
But when he's feeling his wine, more trouble.
Well, that's when he's at 10/10 of his strength.
Exactly. So he removed his rope.
Yeah.
That was an important detail. He was getting ready for it. And then with his bare hands.
I think he's still got pants on.
Yeah, rope.
Okay, yeah, top part.
I don't think he was getting naked like
Maybe.
a couple episodes back. But with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Bare hands, Natalie.
Yeah.
He just pulled the willow tree from the ground, roots and all.
Take that, Confucian family value birds.
So the knives dropped to their knees once again.
What are the knives? You mean knaves?
Knaves.
Knaves.
Oh, they're not knives?
No.
Google told me it was knives.
No, it's Google probably Maybe there was this. It's knaves.
The local thugs dropped to their knees once again. And then they cried out, quote, "The master is no ordinary mortal." Quote, they would be right. So this
man
this image
is a star in heaven.
Is a star in heaven. He is a star in heaven. So this image is the most iconic image of Sagacious Lu.
Yeah.
Said by me. I don't know if there's a ranking out there, but the pulling out of the willow tree, you look Sagacious Lu up. It's been painted many, many times. This is sort of the image that gets burned in people's minds when you think about him.
Yeah.
And I do think that the significance is not just how impressive and unrealistic this plot line is, because a tree and its roots are very strong.
Well, I like that as a heroic feat.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, he drank a whole river or something like absurd.
No.
It's like,
well, this is still kind of absurd.
It's still far beyond what a person could do.
Yes.
But it's like conceivable.
In a way.
You could maybe believe like, okay, maybe there is a guy so tough who could pull out a tree. Like
a small tree, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
very tiny new tree that was just planted not long ago. Yeah. So, no, I think someone...
Roots haven't taken effect yet.
People have done calculations on this, and they go, a willow tree that's like a regular, like the actually is grown.
Yeah.
You can't, there's, it doesn't work. But he is a hero character. But in addition to this portrayal of his strength, I think the significance is that the decision of him to just pull out the tree rather than the original solution, that made more sense for someone to climb up the tree or get a ladder and just take the nest out.
Or just ignore the birds. But
no, he is an impatient and reckless person. This is showing. However,
we didn't know this yet when he beat the butcher to death.
But this is showing that he is a tough dude.
Yeah.
And he's a star from heaven. He has the legendary abilities, or at least brutal force, to back it up.
Yeah. But do you know what they describe him as? A Lohan. They said he's truly a Lohan. And I looked up what that is.
Yeah.
And that's like the reincarnated, that's like the attendants to the Buddha.
Okay.
Like who were like his attendants, and like I think they sort of found enlightenment alongside of him.
Yes.
But they're saying, he's like a saint, he's like a reincarnated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're like, he is our master. There's no question now.
Yeah.
So in the
ride or die.
Ride or die. In the following days, Sagacious Lu continued to get wined and dined, and one day, Sagacious Lu decided to treat them a dinner in return. Mm-hmm. And at that dinner, a few bowls of wine later, one of his followers was like, "Sagacious Lu, you gotta show us your weapon skills. Yeah. We have seen your strengths, but please give us a performance.
Because Sagacious Lu continues to tell his entire backstory to everyone he meets
many times
about how he killed a guy and then he was in the military and now he's on the run.
Exactly. So they want to see like this legendary character and wield his weapon. So Sagacious Lu brought out his solid iron Buddhist staff.
That he had made for him.
Yes, which is a very impressive weapon, even just to look at. And it's very heavy. But he, quote, flourished it effortlessly, making it whistle through the air, quote. He's putting on a show.
Yeah.
And when he was doing this, a passing by gentleman was watching. Mm-hmm. In the gap of a wall.
Can I describe the
Which
gentleman?
was an oddly specific situation.
Can I describe the gentleman?
Sure.
So the gentleman says, truly remarkable. That's what the gentleman says. The gentleman wore a black muslin cap with its two corners gathered together. A pair of interlinked circlets of white jade held the knot of hair at the back of his head. He was dressed in a green officer's robe of flowered silk, bound at the waist by a girdle made of double strips of beaver and fastened by a silver clasp shaped like a tortoise back. His feet were shod in square-toed black boots. In his hand, he carried a folding Chengdu fan. About 35 years old, he had a head like a panther, round eyes, a chin sharp as a swallow's beak, whiskers like a tiger, and was very tall. I don't know what whiskers like a tiger means. He was very tall. So this is I'm guessing he's supposed to be like handsome.
Yes.
He's like a tall, well-dressed,
Government official.
fancy-looking dude, right?
Yeah. He was clearly either
Handsome.
military or
Yeah.
some sort of have some sort of official
Yeah.
post. So about a chin as sharp as a swallow's beak, whiskers like a tiger. The translation,
Yeah.
I looked it up in the Chinese version. It checks out. That's what they said. I think maybe the whiskers mean like his hair or like maybe his facial hair. But I mean, there's no way he has whiskers like a tiger. That's not, it goes sideways.
Also,
so,
a swallow's beak is really pointy. I don't think his chin.
Yes.
He might have a birth defect.
But you're supposed to. This is fiction. You're supposed to see this as a stage show.
So you think he has like a big bushy beard, or what is?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think he's actually usually depicted as clean shaven.
I think so too. In like
Anything modern.
In anything modern or in anything that's on the big screen.
Yeah.
Or the small screen in your home. But after that very elaborate description, the silk robe, the tiger's whiskers and all that, and he's tall.
Well, I want to add something though that we're gonna. Lin Chong.
Yeah.
I think when we meet him at the start is the picture of the peak of which a tough dude can make it within the Imperial Chinese system.
Yes.
He's reached the apex of where you can get by being a tough dude within the hierarchy in terms of privilege and wealth and all of that. But it's still, well, we'll see.
So, tough dude alert, anyone?
It is a tough dude.
Tough dude in the system, Lin Chong.
Mm-hmm.
He was very impressed with Sagacious Lu's weapon skills. And
truly remarkable.
Coming from him, this really means something.
Yeah.
Not that Sagacious Lu needs more recognition. But Lin Chong, at this point in the story, he is the armors instructor. And, we've met a few armors instructors at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up. Is there like one armors instructor? Like, did he take over Wang Jing's job?
Yeah.
No, but there could be many armors instructors. A lot of them are sort of like middle management. They're sort of outside the system, but they teach. They're not in a direct chain of command.
Yeah.
But they teach weapon skills to the soldiers. If they're well connected, they could be quite powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So Lin Chong is one of those. He's quite connected.
It's like a contractor almost.
Yeah, exactly. So they meet, and then we hear Sagacious Lu's story for about the 6th time. And Sagacious Lu mentioned that he knew the honorable father of Lin Chong, Major Lin. So Lin Chong came from a good family, right? We're laying out his storyline here. So
and also this again proves the tough dudes network because everybody knows each other.
Exactly, yeah. So his father, Major Lin, a tough dude. So Lin Chong was very pleased hearing that, and he adopted Sagacious Lu as his sworn brother on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Is this time to talk about sworn brothers?
Yeah, well, other people have sworn each other as sworn brothers so far in the story, but I feel like Sagacious Lu and Lin Chong it's gonna be a more important sworn brotherhood.
More sworn brother than other sworn brothers?
Yeah, so why don't you kind of talk about what that means, because there's a history to it, I think.
So sworn brothers is sort of a Chinese ritual type of a kingship between men. Like majority of the time. Like vast majority of the time. And you know what? People have studied this.
Okay.
We will list out some resources down below.
Yeah.
And I read this very interesting paper written by someone at UCSD. This is like a worldwide interesting topic.
Tough Dudes Network.
Tough Dudes Network. So this concept, this Chinese custom of sworn brotherhood, 结拜兄弟, it is mostly between men that they form a relationship to emphasize or prolong their original friendships. Mm-hmm. In this case, Sagacious Lu and Lin Chong had a very short friendship before they were sworn brothers.
Yeah, like 15 minutes.
Yes. But you could think of this as either an upgrade of a regular friendship, a brotherhood, or sometimes it could even be a form of political or economic alliance. The sworn brother circle can be very small, in this case 2 people, or in Three Kingdoms case 3 brothers.
Zhang Fei and Guan Yu and
Liu Bei, yeah. But sometimes It could be a big group of people.
Maybe 108 of them.
Maybe 108 of them. And in that case, the interpersonal relationships are less emphasized, but a common, sometimes political goal is what ties them together.
And so obviously in reality, things are maybe going to be different. But my interpretation of it from a story perspective is that if people are friends or allies, you can betray them.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily seen as like a huge moral failing sometimes. It's just like, but if you're sworn brothers, then you're not supposed to. That's like,
no.
Then you can't be trusted.
There is a morality clause that now is involved with this sworn brotherhood.
Because if you're allies, that could be for convenience or for various things. But yeah, if you're sworn brothers, you're, in a story perspective, if you go back on that, then you're seen as an untrustworthy person.
Yes. It's not just something that only happens in fictions. The study that's quite interesting, I think this goes into our other topic of like where Chinese culture is preserved on this earth.
Yeah.
A lot of times not in mainland China because obvious reasons, one of which is Mao, So we've lost our tradition.
Yeah.
But a lot of studies are done on Taiwanese brotherhood, like sworn brotherhood. So even today, there are organizations in Taiwan and groups in Taiwan, there are sworn brotherhoods.
Like fraternities, basically.
Yes. But you study them, right? You study what kind of customs they follow, what kind of traditions they follow or don't follow. And it's quite interesting. And you can get a lot of information, such as the sworn brotherhood. It's quite flexible in terms of how you form it. In this case, Lin Chong and Sagacious Lu just drank. And they're like, we're sworn brothers. A lot of other times, you actually write like birth papers. You write birth papers of each other's names and each other's birth dates. And you sort of form a new kinship. It's a new family. It's a chosen family.
Well, I mean, that's the famous oath of Three Kingdoms. We're born on separate days, but we're going to die
on different days. Exactly. So, and this can be flexible or not, depends on your organization. One might ask, is friendship not enough?
No.
Why upgrade? What are we looking for? It's not enough. Because friends, especially in a Confucian society, in like a patriarchal society, it's not enough.
No.
Because that's a very loose social relation compared to a family relation. So you are effectively upgrading to a family relation. And you know what? In Confucian society, two birth brothers who have separated their asset and estate and became two families, the relationship between them would be looser and more casual and more far away than sworn brothers. In this paper, I just want to quote one sentence, which I thought was interesting. Quote, Chinese social compacts in general are sealed with feasts. Quote. And I thought that's why even today.
That's why Richard Nixon had to go to China.
Yeah.
And have a feast and
exactly
drink Mao.
That's what all these guanxi dinners are, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's how business is done.
Well, while he's drinking with and sealing this sworn brotherhood with Sagacious Lu, do you know what Lin Chong is not doing?
Protecting his wife.
Keeping an eye on his wife.
Yes.
Keeping an eye on his property, Cherry.
Yes. So I wrote, as these two sworn brothers are bonding over their tough dude manhood and life stories and wine, Lin Chong's wife was in the danger of getting molested and getting harassed by this guy called Gao Yanei. And if the last name Gao sounds familiar to any of our listeners, this is the adopted son of Gao Qiu, who was actually the adopted son because he was actually Gao Qiu's nephew. But again, this is Asian China. This sort of thing, adoption is quite common, especially if you adopt a relative to be your son. So you don't have a son.
So he's the adopted son of essentially the main villain of the story.
Yes.
Who we met in chapter 2.
Exactly. So before Lin Chong was distracted by Sagacious Lu's superb performance, he and his wife came to the temple of the sacred mountain next door to burn incense. But Lin Chong told his wife and her maid that they should go ahead to the temple without him because he wanted to stay behind and watch Sagacious Lu.
Yeah.
So now we have trouble. Lin Chong was called back by the maid, and he ran over to the temple. And he saw that on the staircase, Gao Yanei, who I guess is the new playboy of this generation, because Gao Qiu is quite old at this point.
Well, here's the situation, though. Yeah. Right? So there's some strange man accosting his wife.
Yes.
And she says something like, how dare you How
I
dare
have
you?
the quote here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She said, quote, "What right do you have to make sport of a respectable woman in times of peace and order?" Quote.
He's like, he's kind of like being sleazy, like, hey, baby, let's get some
They were
drinks.
blocking her
Yeah, I know,
way
right?
out.
So he's
yeah.
being a sleazeball. And I just love to unpack that statement because it implies a couple things.
Yeah.
One, it's like, oh, well, I'm like an upper class woman.
I'm a proper woman with a husband and all that.
Yeah, so if I wasn't, maybe you could do this.
And then I'm a free meal.
Yeah. Also, these are times of peace and order.
Yeah.
If these weren't times of peace and order, what you're gonna do, So
Yes.
I love that like qualification. Not like how dare you make sport of a woman.
Yeah.
It's like how may you make sport of a respectable woman
Yes.
in a time of peace and order.
I know.
Yeah.
Well-
but so Lin Chong shows up and is ready to like kill the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Lin Chong is so pissed.
So he basically like grabs the guy's shoulder and spins him around, and he immediately realizes
This was
shit.
Gaucho's son.
This is Gaucho's son, and this is essentially my boss,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And you know how they described his reaction?
Yeah.
Quote, "The strength left his arms."
Yeah.
Quote.
Because he realizes,
Yeah.
to a certain extent, there's nothing he can do.
No.
Now, like, if it was Sagacious Lou would have punched him anyway. But Lin Chong, person who's made it to a high position,
Yeah.
right? He's respectable. He's respected. He's got
Came from a powerful family.
powerful family, so he doesn't want to just throw it away.
No.
So he just kind of has to like
Play the game.
suck it up
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have true power. He doesn't have true connections to the highest levels of power. He's
Not
just
really, no.
He's just useful.
It's all pretty fragile.
Yes.
In this case for him. And also, Gao Yanei, the young dude, is known as something of a king of lecherous.
Yeah.
His favorite pastime was despoiling other men's wives.
Yes, that's his hobby.
Yeah, and apparently no husbands ever dare to speak out against him. So Lin Chong was no exception.
Yeah.
And Gao Yanei does recognize Lin Chong, though. He knows who Lin Chong is because Lin Chong is, again, mid-management in the army,
And also he knows Lin Chong's really tough.
Yes.
And Lin Chong could just kill him there on the spot if he...
But he's not scared of Lin Chong.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, he kind of slinks off.
Yeah, but not,
Yeah.
We can assume... Well, wait. Shi Naiyan, the writer, does go into explanation that if Gao Yanei had known that the lady was Lin Chong's wife, he would have never even started this whole thing.
Yeah.
Which I am not fully convinced. But maybe he's trying to say, like, Gao Yanei is not a... I don't know. Lin Chong is still somewhat important.
Yeah.
But now...
Or it's just not worth the hassle.
Yes. But now...
Plenty of people's wives in the sea.
Exactly. But now, because Lin Chong walked away for, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's left her wife alone.
Yeah.
And now it's all starting and we can't stop it. There's no breaks on this.
We'll get into...
You know the lesson
What's that?
to our readers
Yeah.
in Asian China? If you're a man, you got to keep your woman in check. This is what the story was trying to tell,
And also, I feel like the commentaries also kind of say that. The Qing Dynasty commentaries are sort of like, gotta keep an eye on your woman.
Exactly.
Especially if she's hot, Cherry.
Especially. So at this point, other people around them try to talk both of them down. Lin Chong and Gao Yanei.
Yeah.
And they try to defuse the situation. So Gao Yanei left with his goons and Lin Chong led his wife and his servant away as well. And at this point is when Sagacious Lu arrived at the scene.
Yeah.
He rushed over, right? He's like, I'm ready to fight for you.
And he's got the whole crew with him.
He's got a whole crew, yeah. But Lin Chong chose to endure.
Yeah.
And Sagacious Lu is like, why? I was going to beat him up. No question. So he had to explain to Sagacious Lu who Gao is and how basically face culture works in this situation.
He has to explain. Sagacious, other people, like...
This is a society.
They have society, there's rules.
Yeah.
You can't just do what you want. And Sagacious Lu's like, what do you mean?
Exactly. So he said, quote, I was going to give the lout a good drubbing, but then I thought it would make the marshal lose too much face. Not even Gao Yanei, but like his father, the marshal. And he said, you know the old saying, fear not officials, except those who officiate over you.
Which is the second time this has come up.
I know.
Wang Jin said the same thing.
Exactly. about Gaucho as well.
Yeah, about Gaucho as well, yeah.
And he said, after all, I'm on his payroll. I decide to let the young rascal off this time, quote. Actually, I think he would let the young rascal off every time. But to which Sagacious Lu shouted that he is not scared of the marshal a bit. And that if he would ever run into Gong Yanei again,
Yeah.
he would, quote, give him 300 licks of my iron staff, quote. And of course, at this point, he's quite drunk, but I have no doubt he really does mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sagacious Lu...
What I like about Sagacious Lu, though, again, is that he recognizes Lin Chong's wife is there, and then he, like, apologizes
Oh, he's
to
very
her.
polite to her.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm drunk.
Because she's a good woman.
But I still think Sagacious Lu, whenever there's a woman in the conversation, no one else ever talks to them.
Yeah.
Sagacious Lu always,
Treats them like humans.
make sure they're okay,
Yeah.
talk to them.
Well, I think maybe this is the different. I mean, I'm not saying Lin Chong's a bad husband, or but he is
He is a bad
in
husband.
a patriarchal society.
He didn't keep track of his wife.
No, he didn't. But Sagacious Lu is sort of outside the system.
Yeah.
Right. So he is less of these patriarchal rules apply to him. Mm-hmm. And he's not part of the So the framework of how you treat a woman maybe don't apply to him as much.
Yeah.
So he is able to see women as humans more than other men are, more than Lin Chong is, right? So or Gao Yanei is.
Yeah.
And I thought at this point they have portrayed these two sworn brothers in sort of a similar but opposite manner.
Yeah.
They're both men of valor.
Yeah.
They're both tough dudes. But Lin Chong, a trapped mid-level management official in the army, in the patriarchal society, is the opposite of Sagacious Lu, who just is not scared of the martial a bit, apparently. So, right?
Yeah.
So, and doesn't get face culture.
No.
So what do you mean? So now they say goodbye and go home, the two brothers. Mm-hmm. And the story with the Gao Yanei, of course, is not over yet.
Yeah.
So we move our camera to Gao Yanei in his house, okay?
Who's lovesick, Cherry.
He is lovesicken. And he became literally sick.
He's like, if I don't have sex with Lin Chong's wife, I will die.
Yeah, exactly.
I will literally die. He's like, I got 4 or 5 weeks tops.
Yeah.
And then I'll be
no,
dead.
they describe him like he's pale, he's fretful, like he's bedridden. Terrible.
The story sort of implies that his assessment is correct. That like he will just die.
Which is not how it works. No.
It's not how it works. But it's just kind of funny that no one challenges this.
No.
They're just like, well, I guess he's going to die unless we do something. I guess we got to like.
So they must come up with a plan.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when we say they, it's all of
the people around him.
All of this little flunkies and like hangers on.
It's his goons.
His goons come up with a plan.
Yes. So this first plan that came up, okay, so there are multiple, by the way. The plan that come up involves one of Lin Chong's, Lin Chong's best friend.
Yeah.
But not a sworn brother.
Not a sworn brother.
Notice the difference. So they want to use Lin Chong's friend to set up this very elaborate scheme. So what the friend is supposed to do, let me explain the scheme, okay? What the friend is supposed to do is that he would invite Lin Chong somewhere to drink, away from his home. Then Lin Chong would be away, and then one of Gao Yanei's goons, attendants, would go to Lin Chong's home and tell his wife that Lin Chong has suddenly fell ill and that she needs to go and fetch him. Mm-hmm. And then she would follow the goon. But she would be brought over to Gao Yanei instead, but not to her husband. And they said, quote, women are changeable as water, quote. So as long as Gao Yanei, gives her sweet words and, try to convince her, she wouldn't be able to resist. So they're like, this is a great plan. And Gao Yanei is like, yes, let's do it.
Well, the interesting thing, I think, though, to put it into a little bit of perspective, we talked about this a little bit in the Chinese marriage episode, but like marriage is like adoption, marriage is more flexible in China. You can just go from one wife to another person's wife. Yeah. It's not like quite like the stigma and like all of the legality that's in like Europe and Christianity and like marriages and stuff, or like, sometimes the Pope's got to get involved.
Exactly.
So there is the possibility from a cost benefit analysis that like if you're a more powerful person, higher position in China, that like
will trade wives.
Yeah, that like what I mean. That they'll trade up. To you.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's not impossible. relationships can change in this way.
That's true, yes.
Yeah. Also, they don't have any kids.
Yeah, but they didn't know that the lady, who we don't have the name of, by the way, because why do you need the name?
She's not changeable.
No, she's not changeable. But they execute the plan.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know that. So they even got to the point that Lin Chong's wife was led to see Gao Yanei.
Is alone with Gao Chou's son.
Yes. But her maid ran away and found Lin Chong and told him what was happening.
Yeah.
Shocked, Lin Chong ran at triple speed to Lu Qian, his best friend's house.
Yeah.
Which was where his wife was at.
Yeah.
And we hear once again, quote, "In times of peace and order, how dare you hold a good man's wife prisoner?" Quote.
She is referring to herself based on her essentially
Relationship
position
to the man.
Yeah, to the man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the only
Yeah.
choice she had. So, but you know what though? Gao Yanei wasn't like quote unquote forceful.
Yeah.
He was begging.
Yeah.
He said, "Have pity on me, mistress. Even a woman of iron and stone shouldn't be so cold-hearted," quote. Which I thought this was a kidnapping, okay? And he was putting words in her mouth that she is
what I think is funnier,
iron and stone-hearted. Yeah.
she rushes to the house where she thinks her husband has like had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Where's my husband?" And Gao Chou,
She's like, "Your husband is here."
Yeah. Who I imagine is like, rose petals.
Yeah.
And like a flower in his mouth.
Yeah.
Is like, "Your husband's here."
Yeah.
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 I'm your new husband.
It's still a despicable thing to do.
Of course
okay?
it's a despicable thing.
Okay. But I think maybe they were writing it this way to show, oh, he's not that bad. No,
Yeah.
he's bad. But hearing Lin Chong's voice, Gao Yanei was so terrified.
He's like, "I'm dead."
He, quote, pushed open a window, climbed down, and fled along the top of a wall. Quote,
Like a cat.
like a cat, yeah. Lin Chong marched into the room, and the first thing he asked his wife was that, "Did that dog violate you?" And the wife says no.
Yeah.
So they go home.
Well-
Lin Chong was so pissed.
Yeah. I just love that he runs away like a cat, like it's like a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
He's like tugging up his pants or whatever, and he runs out the window. And then, well, maybe he had his pants on, but then it just like Lin Chong is just so mad, as he said, he has nowhere to direct his rage.
No.
And his friend realizes, oh, Lin Chong's gonna be mad.
Yeah.
So he goes to his friend's house, smashes everything in the house.
Yes.
Smashes it all like to sticks. Mm-hmm. And then he just waits outside all day.
Yeah.
With a knife
Yes.
to kill his friend. Because he knows he can't kill the marshal.
Gao Yanei.
Yeah, the
The son of the marshal.
Yeah, son of the marshal. But, he can kill his friend.
So that's what he was trying to do.
Or ex-friend.
Exactly. So he waited outside all day, right, in a rage. But the friend was a no-show because obviously he knows. Lin Chong went home, and then his wife urged him. "He didn't harm me. Don't do anything foolish." And she continued to plead with him to remain at home. Mm-hmm. And this is where I would like to mention a point raised by this other guy, Jing Shengtan. He is a Chinese writer, editor, and critic in the early Qin dynasty. Mm-hmm. And who famously wrote this commentary on the water margins. And one of our listeners was kind enough to suggest that we check it out.
Yeah.
So we checked it out. Courtesy of our listener, Jing Shengtan had an interesting take on this part of the plot. He thought because the wife pleaded with Lin Chong to de-escalate,
Yeah.
that means she is a good woman, a good wife, a good Confucius woman, Natalie.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because she is putting Lin Chong's career and future as a first priority.
What's her safety and,
Honor.
honor and all of that and desires compared to Lin Chong's career?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although, I will give her credit saying that in this society, in this patriarchal society where she could only be attachment to him,
Yeah.
if he is in the doghouse, her life wouldn't be so great either.
No.
So there's that. But this is clearly a morality lesson again, right, for our listeners. And I thought that was interesting because Jing Shengtan wrote that if she was a slutty bad wife, she would have demanded him to take revenge. Which I don't know about
Is there
the
a
slutty
Chinese
part.
character for slutty?
Yeah, in.
It means what, like promiscuous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. This is all contradicting,
Yeah.
Can't win. So, but you do see the societal expectation and the morality clause that, we put on women, especially this woman.
Yeah.
And what he is praising her of doing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And I want to say one more thing about Jing Shen-tan. I think if we have time in the future episodes, we'll certainly take a look at his commentary and see if there's anything interesting that we'll share with our listeners here. He does have some good points.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he rambles a lot. It's like a stream of consciousness sometimes.
Yeah.
Shi Naian, the writer of The Water Margins, might write a few days later, which is often. And Jing Shen-tan would comment, it's a few days later now. And you're like, yeah, I know that, dude. So there's some good stuff in there, but you gotta really have patience to read through it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So back to the book. Lin Chong still waited outside Lu Qian's house for 3 days, despite his wife trying to plead with him.
Yeah.
But Lu Qian was a coward.
Yeah.
He hid in the marshal's residence for 3 days. On the 4th day, sagacious Lu came to Lin Chong's house and invited him to drink. He's like, "Where have you been, Lin Chong?"
Yeah.
Then Lin Chong gives him the whole story. They continue to hang out every day, and in time, Lin Chong gradually set the other matter aside. But just because he set it aside doesn't mean Gao Yanei has set it aside.
Yeah.
He is still lovesick.
He's still dying.
He's still dying. And people, and these goons around him goes, "We got to do something about it."
Yeah.
So they don't go like, dude, just get a grip,
Yeah.
It's
just go like seduce someone else's wife.
Sure. Yes. So
Somebody else has got to left their wife alone at the temple,
Exactly. So you know what they did? They go up the chain.
Yeah.
They go to the marshal.
Yeah.
Gao Qiu himself proposed a plan to frame Lin Chong.
Yeah.
And Gao Qiu, being the corrupt, I guess, egotistic big man that he is, being the villain of the book, of course he wouldn't have any problems with this plan to treat another arms instructor with unfairness.
Yeah.
First we have Wang Jing, now we have Lin Chong.
Yeah.
Gao Qiu just really does not like any arms
He's
instructors.
like, yeah, we got to make sure my son gets laid.
Exactly. So here's the plan. You want to know the plan? This is a very elaborate plan.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than the last one. So Lin Chong, being an arms instructor and a tough dude, loves like swords and weapons.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? He really loves them, right?
Yeah.
So they got someone to sell Lin Chong a fancy sword.
Yeah.
And there's like
in a very obvious way.
Yes.
They're like, "Oh, I'm so poor, but I used to be so rich, and I have this real fancy sword
with gems on it,
and I got to get rid of it today."
Yeah. And Lin Chong's like, "Where did it come from?" He's like, "I cannot tell you."
If there was only a tough dude who likes swords, who would buy it from me?
Yes.
Oh, but where will I find somebody like that? I want to. So the guy's following him around. He's like, the man trailed behind them saying, "A splendid sword. It's a shame no one appreciates it." Lin Chong and Sagacious were still engrossed in their conversation. The man followed them. "A big city like the eastern capital, and not a single person knows the worth of military weapons," he cried. At this, Lin Chong looked around. The fellow whipped the sword out of its sheath. It gleamed dazzlingly in the sun. Lin Chong was fated for trouble. He said abruptly, "Let me see it." And then, he's like, "Oh,
this was laser targeted marketing at Lin Chong."
Yeah.
So he buys the sword.
Yeah. He haggles the guy down.
He haggles the guy down, right? And he asked the guy, where did the sword come from? Such a fancy sword. What's its origin? He's like, "I cannot tell you, for that I will be ashamed."
Yeah. It's like a samurai selling his...
Yeah.
I like the saying, which I'm sure is very common, Chinese saying, but the guy who sells the sword is like, this is selling gold for the price of iron.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he buys his sword for the price of iron.
Yeah.
And the day after, two lieutenants came to Lin Chong's house and brought an order from the Marshal Gao.
Well, the funny thing, though? This is like among the top 2 numbers. The first thing Lin Chong thinks about when he gets the sword, he's like, "This is a really cool sword." He immediately thinks, Marshal Gao supposedly has a cool sword too. I'd like to compare swords with him.
Exactly.
I bet mine is cooler.
And
then what do you know, Cherry, next day?
Yeah.
2 people show up.
And they go, "Yeah, Marshal Gao wants to invite you because he heard that you got a nice sword, a fancy sword. So he wants to he wants you to come over, bring the sword so we can compare.
He wants to compare swords with you, which
Yeah.
sounds like some sort of euphemism, but I guess it's just they're just comparing swords.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe this is just what tough dudes do.
He just wants to go compare swords.
Yes. So Lin Chong goes with his beautiful new sword.
Yeah.
And Lin Chong was led into the rear hall of the Gao residence.
Yeah.
And while he was in the waiting, they're like, just wait here, Marshal Gao will come, right?
Yeah.
To meet you. While he was waiting, he realizes that he was in the, quote, White Tiger Inner Sanctum, quote. And this is actually a plaque on the wall, which is supposedly the room where the highest military affairs was discussed. And Lin Chong knew this. So he was like, ooh, I'm not supposed to be in here. So as he was trying to leave the room, it was too late because Gao Qiu walked in and told Lin Chong that he did not summon him.
Yeah.
He said, why are you here? How dare you equip the weapon in the inner hall, I guess, White Tiger Inner Sanctum, and you force your way in. Are you trying to murder me?
Also,
why else would you do this?
I've heard reports you've been prowling around outside your friend's house with a knife.
Yeah.
Trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And you're unstable, Lin Chong.
Exactly.
You came to kill me now.
Yeah. So Lin Chong was like, no, someone led me here. He's like, well, I don't see anyone. So there it was. Lin Chong was arrested.
Well, I love when so Gao with the fake accusation, that he's, set him up, that he's going to kill him. Bowing, Lin Chong replied, "Benevolent Lord, 2 of your lieutenants brought me here saying you wanted to compare your sword with mine."
I know. With our dirty minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very suggestive. But this is just,
Just want to compare swords, Cherry.
Yeah. So Lin Chong was arrested, and that is the end of the episode. We have to wait to see where Lin Chong goes from here. What I like about this plot, the second plot, was that they actually did have to frame him.
Yeah.
And it's very elaborate. They couldn't just kill him in the streets to get rid of him.
No.
There was a structure, and obviously corruption existed in the structure.
Yeah.
But there was still a structure. And I thought that was interesting.
Well, and also though, I feel like, I think there's two parts to that though, right? A, if it's outside the major cities, they probably could just kill him on the road.
Yeah.
Which we'll see in later chapters.
But this is the capital.
This is the capital.
This is the Gao residence.
But the other thing though I think is interesting though is like they probably could just kill him. But the issue is that he's a tough enough dude that the amount of
effort,
resources they would have to put forward into killing him would just be too obvious.
Yes.
If he was just like a regular guy, somebody could sneak in his window.
He's someone in the system.
Yeah.
He's someone with a name. He's not an NPC.
And he's also a tough dude. So if you just send 1 or 2 guys in through the window, he'll kill them.
Yeah.
You got to send a bunch of guys.
Yes.
So.
And that's just
It's too much.
Too much. So we're really setting up for Lin Chong, this trapped official, because his trajectory is one of typical, because there are, amongst our 108 heroes, supposedly, some are like Sagacious Lu.
Yeah.
Who just he cannot be framed, he cannot fit into this societal frame, right?
Or 9 Dragons Shujin, who just makes bad decisions.
Exactly. But Lin Chong is one of the examples of the tough dudes that were sort of forced, that things happened to them.
Yeah.
And they were forced out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
A major theme is that they have too hot of a wife. That's one of the reasons they were forced. Other men want their wives.
Yeah.
There might be other reasons, but this seems very common.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he is, it's not that he himself does not want to fit in.
Yeah.
It's that circumstances happen and they somehow get into these troubles and they can't get out of them. Yeah. So in a way, they're like forced up the Liang mountain.
And I also feel like it's a thing where there are people who, it's a society that theoretically, I think one of the arguments, implicit in the book is it's a society that needs tough dudes. The Imperial China, the army, the border, the Imperial Guards, they need tough dudes, right?
Or they need Gao Qiu.
but I mean on a level to keep China going.
Oh, yes.
You got to have tough dudes in the system.
Yes. You're saying because they're forced out of the system's crumbling.
Yeah, but you have a system that doesn't reward that.
It
and
rewards people like Gaucho.
Yeah, it rewards people who are better at politicking.
Yeah.
And promotes them rather than people who are good at,
Yes.
Fighting the Jin people or whatever.
Right. The barbarians. Yeah.
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 Well, the people who
To them, they're
are barbarians.
Yeah.
They're gonna take over, Kaifeng and all these places in the Southern Song during the Southern Song Dynasty, and they're gonna like still have like the, do all the rituals and do all the stuff.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
But to these people, the northern people are barbarians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's this episode, and I think we'll hear more about Lin Chong in the next one. Finally, because we went through a few episodes of Sagacious Lu's story.
Yeah.
I think we're shifting the focus a little bit now.
Yeah. Well, we're not done with Sagacious Lu yet,
Of course not.
But so next episode, a little preview. It's going to be a lot about the sentencing and the trial and the laws,
The Chinese ancient
legal system about sort of framing Lin Chong and his punishments. So if you want some background for that, I suggest you listen to our Judge D episode, which is not dissimilar situations, which about the role of Chinese magistrates.
Yeah, you'll find the link down below.
Well, anyway, thank you for listening, everyone. Something just fell off a shelf. Cherry was yawning too vigorously. And
Don't say that.
You were. It was a big yawn. Your arm hit the thing.
Okay. Oh, stretching.
Oh, okay, stretching. Thank you for listening, everyone. More water margin, and then we'll probably have
more water episodes.
Yeah, Yellow River and maybe the Grand Canal after that.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, and have a nice day.